Hello. So what I want to talk today about is creating reusable character sheets. And this goes back to just before COVID started. I think it was around February 2020. And I was playing in a game in town. And one of the other players had this nice booklet. It was about the size of Filofax, if that means anything to you, which is sort of pages are maybe A5. And it was a nice little booklet, and it had these plastic inserts that he could use a dry white marker on it, so it's not writing on the actual character sheets. And I looked at getting it because I thought I was really taken with it. And I looked at getting it and something similar. And the problem was it was coming from the States, plus they were all also handmade, and you purchase different covers on them. And it was quite artisan and it was quite expensive. I remember at the time I think it was coming in around €70. Uh, but before I could squander my money on it, COVID happened and everything shut down. And I sort of forgot about it. And I then, at some stage, I went back and said, I'm not spending €70 on it. And I bought one of these booklets from Amazon. And these are all over Amazon. You can get them quite readily. And they are just a list of character sheets on paper that you can fill in with pencil and then rub out. And they work fine. And there's extra sheets down the back for other characters. But you can never really sort of rub out the stuff properly, and you might inadvertently use a pen, and other stuff happens. So I was always still thinking about something that I could easily rub out, especially if they're just one-shot characters. Of course, there's nothing to stop you printing out character sheets and just disposing of them. But I was sort of intrigued by some sort of a dry white marker type of approach to it. And I didn't think much more about it, and I sort of forgot about it until recently when I was starting to hope to do a video on how to make cheap and effective standees or character tokens that you can easily carry around in a game. I've hit a couple of snags on that and some of the processes I was doing, and it didn't really work, so I decided to just park that for a couple of days and get some more arts and crafts stuff. And in the meantime, I had bought one item and I went, hang on a second, that's going to work really well for my character sheets, my reusable dry wipe character sheets. So in this video, I'm going to look quickly at two techniques for creating character sheets. Different uses. One of them, the first one I'm going to look at, requires a laminator. So yeah, that might be out of everybody's comfort zone of getting a laminator. And the second one uses very, very minimal components, and we're talking a couple of euro. So I'm going to need to reposition the camera, and we're going to look at the first one and where you might use it, and then we're going to get back to turning this cheap book into a dry wipe marker character sheet book that you can reuse forever. Okay, stay tuned. The first technique we're going to do is relatively straightforward, and it relies on a laminator. So laminators are devices, if you're not sure what they are, I'm not sure. I don't think they're very expensive. I think you'll pick up a laminator for maybe 15 or 20 euros. They use these sheets and they turn it. They go clear after they've been heated, and they allow you to protect documents in a plastic sheet. The great other advantage about them is that they become dry whiteable. So we're just going to show you how to do this, which is essentially laminating. But one little thing that might be handy for you. So in our club, we would have characters that, when people turn up, they might turn up for just one mission, and they need a level 6 character. And we tend to have pools of different level 6 characters. So one thing that you could do is, instead of having to print out all these sheets, and you could build up over time a load of character sheets that you want to hand out for the evening, and then you can collect them back at the end of the evening. And what you could do is, in the maximum HP, current HP, so you can see this maximum one is 66, you could then laminate it, and they can change it as they go. This gives a great advantage that the next time you start a session, you just have to rub out the current HP or anything else that's changed. To use it, you simply slot the character sheet into this laminating document and you put it in the laminator. And these are just blank character sheets, which again, of course, you can use, and you can put these back to back. And this is the one I'm going to use. The spell slots are on the back. To use these laminating sheets, it's very straightforward. I'm using A4 documents because I live in the EU, in Europe. We don't use the letter size one, but I'm sure if you're in the States, you would probably be printing these out as letter size, if not A4, and you would need these laminating pouches to match. So I'm just putting it in the laminating pouch. Actually, these character sheets are slightly smaller than, yeah, these D&D official ones are actually slightly smaller than A4. I never noticed that before. Anyway, so they're in the sheet. You can trim that excess bit off. Just make sure they're both the right way up. And I'm going to pop this in the laminator. The laminator will take a few minutes to heat up, so I'm going to come back when it's heated. Okay, so just while the laminator is heating, I've just actually taken time to trim this slightly and cut off the excess. Of course, I could have done that after it was laminated, but you know, I have to wait for this thing to time out. I've also taken a small bit of paper off the edge here because these D&D sheets, which actually come from Wizards of the Coast, are actually slightly bigger. They're slightly wider, so you need to have a bit of a, I'll show this on the camera, you need to have an area of clearness all the way around because it essentially melts the plastic to itself to bond it. The other thing you want to do is when you do insert it, you want to insert first the end that is sealed. This is so it can push the air out. If you go the other way, it's going to start crumpling up. So you need to push it out. So this is nearly ready. It'll make a beep and this light will go off. There's two thicknesses. One is if you're using stock card, you can put it in there. It needs a slight bit higher. And it's ready to go. So it's beeping there. So you just pop this in and it'll grab it and the magic happens here. Also, while we were waiting for this to heat up, I've just checked the price and the prices vary. You can of course pay crazy money for them, but you can get them as cheap as 18, 19 euros up to silly money. So it's going to pop it out. I don't know if the other ones heat better or whatever. They last forever. I've had this one for years. Don't use it that often, but it's great. They're great things to have, especially, you know, for kids if they want to put stuff, or if they've done a painting or something that they want to keep. They're great things to have in the cupboard that you just pop them on and they'll protect something for indefinitely. The only thing don't do, which I tried to once, was I had gotten some tickets for a gig. It was our REM concert in Slane and I decided to laminate them as a keepsake, but the tickets were heat sensitive and as a result, when it passed through the laminator, it turned all black in parts. So it's just popped out there now, and there you go. And this is now, it's a bit warm, but you can write on this and go like that. This marker is a bit chunky, and it'd be better off to get a fine whiteboard marker. But you can see there it's written on it, and then at the end of the session, or as the character changes, you can just write it out. And same with the spell slots on the back. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at we're going to be using a different medium to put on this, because the disadvantage with this, although it's great, it's quick, you have to be able to put the whole sheet into the machine. And that is not going to work for our booklets, because obviously we can't put that, we'd have to cut the page out and laminate it. The other thing you could do, if you really wanted to with these, is you could get a paper punch, click it, and stick it in an A4 binder and have a load of them there. Okay, we will reposition the camera for the booklet. So for our next technique, we're going to be using clear self-adhesive book covering plastic. This is available, so this is this stuff here. It was 5 meters by 450 meters wide, and you can see there it cost me €3. So this is available in my local discount shop, and I'm sure it's available in every single type of discount shop that exists over the world. And it is this stuff, and in Ireland this is usually used to cover kids' school books. And you can see it has I think it's a centimeter grid, maybe 2 centimeter grid. Yeah, so it has a little 2 centimeter grid for roughly measuring out stuff, and you can cut it and peel it away, and it's sticky plastic. And this is what we're going to be using, and it's fairly straightforward. The first thing we need to do is get a rough measurement of our page that we want to cover. So we can see that this page, and remember, you don't have to cut it using the grids or anything, but it's just a little bit easier. So this is 16 by roughly 24. So what we're going to be cutting, the plastic sheet, is 16 by 24. There is one little thing to note, and it just means that when you apply the sticker, the tape is rolled. So it's going to roll in a certain way. Ideally, the best way to have it is so that it rolls in this direction. So it's rolling this way. So we're going to be cutting the page 16 by 24 this way. So we're going to be going we're going to be going 24 centimeters by 16 wide. Unfortunately, the sheet is a little bit, you can't get two of them out of it. And you can see why I want to cut it with the roll when we get to that stage. So I'm just going to pause this there now and cut this sheet. Okay, so I have my sheet out on the page here, and you can see it's going to want to roll this way. So if you remember, it was 16 by 24, and they're in 2 centimeter grids, so that is 8. So we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12 by 8. So 12, so that's 24, and of course you can obviously use a measure, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're looking at this one here, and we're going to slice it. Now, normally I would say use a scissors or use a guillotine if you have one, but the scissors doesn't really work well with this stuff, I find. So just a straight edge there, good sharp. Again, this is just a cheap hobby craft knife. So I'm just going to go across to here, slightly a little bit more there, and cut it this way, and put it there. So now I have a sheet with the same dimensions as the page. I'm going to offer it up before I position everything, just so that I know that, yeah, I have it cut it the right way. Okay, just going to pause, and no, actually not going to pause. Don't need to pause. Let's just go for it. So this booklet is a bit grubby and dirty because I have tried to rub out stuff and it hasn't come out very well. There are sheets down the back, or there are pages down the back, which I could reuse them, but I'm going to use these ones for the purpose of this. Now, what I want, it's important now, this wants to go this way, so we need to put it on this way. We're going to work with the page. So what I want to do is I just want to get a little bit of this started. I know that I'm on camera, it'll probably take forever to get this off. So, and of course it doesn't want to cooperate. But thankfully with 4 corners we can try and get this with. And you're just going to pause for 2 seconds there until I get an edge. And of course, as soon as I paused, I got an edge straight away off camera, and let's have to close it back down. So what I want to do is I want to take just a little bit of this. I don't want to take it, I'm not going to pull off all the sheet, because that's where madness and horror lies. So I just want to get about a couple of centimeters, which it happens to be 1 grid. So I'm just going to get it like that. So I've peeled back a little bit. I'm going to go into the corner of the book, and this is the important bit. I'm going to try and get this as straight with that line that's there on the border of the booklet. So, and I want to get the top exactly down to where I'm going to go. So I just got, so I have it on. So I'm just going to press down hard. Oh, I've got a little bit of it. That's okay. You'll get away with 1 or 2 of these at the start. And then I'm going to get my rule. And this is why it's important. So I'm pushing this down as I go. And this is why it's important to go with the roll. So I'm going to then use the rule and push. And the rule, holding the book, is going to take it off the page. And it's going to want to roll in the right direction. Smooth out anywhere. There are a little couple of imperfections. And there we go. And just give this a push down. And that is all there is to it. As simple as that. And now you can write on it, and current HP 12. This isn't a very pointy marker, so you're not going to be able to do too much detailed writing, but you can, as I said earlier, get a nice finer one, which is what I recommend. Now, I have done this already because I wanted to test it out, and I have 2 pages done here. So these have the shiny plastic on them, and I have closed it over and I left it there overnight, and I've sort of thrown the book around the place. And because my fear was that this ink here would go on to migrate across to this page here, and this ink would go there, making it awful looking, and it hasn't. So it works quite well, and you can see you can rub it off quite nicely, and away you go with it. Another thing, if you really want to be clever with it, what you can do is, before you apply the plastic sheet, if you're going to say, hey, I'm always going to be having quivers, and I'm going to be having arrows, and I'm going to have a bedroll. You could always write this down permanently in small little, or type it, or whatever. Arrows, crossbow bolts, arrows, rations, and then you just change the number. So you'd have it nicely written there, and it's never going to rub out, especially on items that every character is going to have, like torches, rope, candles, and that. I hope you found this all very interesting. Leave me messages in the comments if you have any ideas that are better, or you have any suggestions. If not, see you soon.